Good afternoon. I usually say good morning, but good afternoon. Welcome to Pathways Podcast. A short episode today, more of an invitational episode to invite people to the Christmas Eve service. But I'm joined by our pastor, Steve Herma.
It's been a while.
Been a while.
It's good to be here.
Been
It's exciting. Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's
So here's a question. How many Christmas Eve sermons have you given over the years?
I have no idea.
A few.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Tell me how challenging is it to present something different on Christmas Eve or Easter or those special services?
I don't necessarily strive for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had conversations before. If there's one time where traditional is what people expect, it's Christmas and Easter and kind of those big Sundays like that. And so, I think sometimes you can kind of overthink it and go to down a place that people are kind of walk away going, I thought this was Christmas. They have certain expectations.
Yeah.
And so first of all, you want to meet those. You want to be true to the Word of God. You want to be true to the truth, obviously. And, if something emerges in the process, then you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And it may not be something new. It might be something that you talked about years ago or maybe even the year before.
Yeah.
So there's only so many Christmas texts. So, I'm pretty sure I've preached at this point. I don't know how many Christmas messages I've done, but I'm guessing I've done at least the Christmas passages in Scripture at least 5 times each, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe more, depending on. So, quite a few.
I might sound prophetic with this statement I'm going to say, but if I were to really think about what you're going to preach about tonight, I'm going to go with the birth of Jesus.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it just came to me. So.
Yeah, the birth of Jesus, who is also God, and what it signifies. And
one of the things I appreciate about you and your preaching and the story of Jesus being born is that it's gritty and raw and real. And I think sometimes you hear messages of just I don't know, how pretty and clean and just how wonderful of a setting it was. Well, it wasn't.
Yeah. They had my wife and I watched the best Christmas pageant ever, which is really good. But there's a part of that the whole movie is about kind of that traditional Christmas pageant. And what's interesting about that movie, and if you've read the book, and I'm not going to give away everything here, but what's interesting about that is that they kind of had this ritualistic view. They had this Christmas pageant that they did, and it was this big deal. And this was the 75th anniversary of the Christmas pageant. Well, there were all these curveballs and all these new things popped up. And what was interesting is that somewhere in the midst of the repetition of the Christmas pageant, and this became something more than what it was supposed to be. And the reason why it was the best Christmas pageant ever is because in the midst of this pageant emerged what it really was about. And so, for me, and this kind of speaks to everything when it comes to ministry, right? I don't mind rituals. I that's part of how we interact. But if we do rituals to the point where we're not really sure why we're doing them, then they got to be obliterated, or they have to be challenged, or they have to be something along those lines. And so, probably the most ritualistic thing we do is Christmas when you think about it. I mean, for a lot of people, that's maybe the only time of the year they go to church.
Yeah.
It's Christmas.
Right.
And they go expecting certain songs. They go expecting you to say certain things. And, on the one hand, you want to give them that. But on the other hand, you want to insert some things where the Spirit can move.
Yeah.
And kind of challenge their rituals or whatever it is that, so that they can somehow glean the true meaning. and then take that with them. And then whether they really believe it or not, it's at least something they'll think about.
Yeah.
And that's what your goal is.
What would you if you could, I don't know, find one, what is a ritual that you think is good or that you enjoy taking part in?
You know, I love, you mean in the church or
Yeah.
just, I love, that's a good question. Obviously I have rituals on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I get prayed for.
Yeah.
During the meet and greet, I exit stage right, and I have the prayer team praying for me. That's a ritual every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's very, very significant to me, and I'm not sure. You know, there once in a blue moon, I get caught up in something's going on where I don't get the chance to do that, but very rarely. But you know, that's very meaningful to me. I have a ritual. I mean, you know, Jen, who's just off camera, knows if there's a time of the Sunday morning when I'm not here, she starts to get nervous because I'm like clockwork.
Yeah.
And I have this ritual that I do. And, you know, part of my ritual on Sunday mornings is I just come clean before God, you know, and that's very significant to me. You know, and I feel the sense of urgency because I'm going to be preaching.
Yep.
And so, you know, that's all part of my process, and it's somewhat ritualistic.
Yeah.
But it's not insignificant.
Yeah.
You know, it's very deeply meaningful to me. Obviously, communion would be somewhat ritualistic. Once a month, we do corporate communion, and by doing so, we follow the instructions in Scripture. We do what's called the words of institution.
Mm-hmm.
I read them all the time, but they're not meaningless.
Right.
To me, and every time they have significance. And so, you know, a lot of stuff like that. I mean, it's, you know, when we do special services like weddings and funerals, we have what's called the liturgy, which is more or less the script.
Mm-hmm.
Little variations depending on the individual or how the Spirit leads. But for the most part, you know, but those are significant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the only time rituals are bad is really when they kind of become a substitute for what's important, and they're just something you do, but
like you said, you just don't know why you're doing them anymore.
Yeah, you just kind of lose the significance of why you do it.
Yeah. Or if the ritual gets in the way of people knowing Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
And or they think that it's the ritual itself is enough. They don't really need to know Jesus because they followed the ritual.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hold on. You know, the ritual is, it's more of a culmination of the relationship. It's not a substitute for the relationship.
So would you call our Christmas Eve service kind of ritual in nature? Because I mean, we're pretty consistent and
except I will say that, you know, like the praise team, I think we're mindful of that.
Yeah.
We want to change it up a little bit, and we want to insert some things that, like, you know, for example, you know, not all Christmas music is worshipful, but we want to worship.
Yep.
That's why we're here. And so I think the praise team is, and, you know, like Al and Jen and, you know, Lee and all the people that kind of are in that process of choosing the music, they're looking for something that we can worship to. You know, but at the same time, people like their carols. They like certain songs. And so there has to be some elements of that. So you're always trying to find that balance of things. So it's not like it's like excruciatingly hard.
Yeah.
It's just important. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, a lot of prayer, a lot of consideration. So,
do you have a favorite Christmas song?
You know, one of my favorite songs is probably I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, and it's not necessarily because of the melody. It's more kind of the meaning and the story behind it. I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day and that's the song that's by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who, when he wrote the poem before it became a song, he had just gone through a horrible season of life. He lost his wife. His wife died. He had a son that was shot in the back during the Civil War, and they thought he was paralyzed, and just like all these bad things occurred. And he wrote this song, and part of the song, it speaks about how, the song, peace on earth, goodwill towards men, that doesn't exist. It mocks the bells on Christmas Day. It mocks this idea. And then somewhere in the song and in the poem, he comes to this realization that, then the bells pealed more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. And he says that, and he goes on to say that, that truth will prevail. And there will be peace on earth, goodwill towards men. It's just like, yeah, that's right. That's a promise for someday. We get tastes of it now, and we get the blessing that is, evidence that it's true. But yet we're kind of like, it hasn't come to full fruition. So we get enough to kind of whet our appetite, so to speak, and give us a longing for what's to come. But at the same time, we live in that assurance that it will be done.
Do you find yourself as you get older, like getting more excitement or longing more for that day to come?
Yeah, I do. But I will say also that there is a great deal of satisfaction of kind of being that person that can bring elements of it now.
Yeah.
And I think the older you get, the more you're able to be that kind of that wisdom or that stabilizing force, especially in your family. You kind of step into that place of the patriarch, and you get to espouse those virtues.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rewarding too. But when that's over, hopefully you've done your job.
Yep.
You've passed it on. You passed on whatever wisdom you gleaned from life and was passed on to you. And then you just go into your eternal reward. And it's like, okay, put down the sword, enjoy the blessing. Now it's somebody else's battle to fight.
Yeah.
But I got kind of a warrior spirit in me, so I like the battle.
Yeah.
But I look forward to the day when it's over.
Yeah, I find myself as I get older that I don't know, maybe some of it has to do with my body doesn't recover as fast as it used to either. But like I don't know. I think more about Jesus' return and just, oh man, peace on earth and no more pain, no more sorrow, no more, death. Like it's.
And it should also simultaneously fuel your desire to tell others.
Right.
Because, you don't know who the people are that will receive it.
Yeah.
Your hope is that everybody would, but the reality is that, they won't.
Yeah.
But yet you continue to, speak that out with a fervency that,
Well, and
you want that for everybody.
Yeah. And I would say Christmas time is one of the, biggest opportunities that we have as Christians to, where people will actually listen and not shut us down right away. It seems like, Christmas Eve and Easter, the church is the fullest. And like you said, the tradition is they come on Christmas Eve, to check off their box. But at the same time, like people are here, like they're listening. You hope. And so just want to encourage people to go out and share, invite my wife. So quick story. My wife and I, yesterday, we, let's see, she went up, she grabbed we're going to have a movie night at home with the kids. So she went and got movie theater popcorn and we ordered pizza and we were going to pick it up. Well, we show up and the pizza's not ready. So we wait around for about 15 minutes and finally get it. And it was at a Casey's, and as we're leaving, up pulls this car, and the tire's completely shredded on it. And it's like a young girl, like in her early 20s, and she's on the phone it sounds like she's talking to her dad. And we were like, we should help her. So we got out and asked if she needed help, and she said, that'd be great if you could help me. I said, well, let me run to my house, grab a better jack and better tools to do this. And so we run there and run back. And then just found in conversation, we were inviting her to the Christmas Eve service tonight. And she was like, oh, I might do that. But just God presented this opportunity for someone to come in our path. And we're like, let's invite her, you know, and maybe she can be blessed by coming to church tonight. Hope she comes.
You know, if you think about it in terms of God and, you know, the fear of the Lord, the awe and the majesty of God, probably the least confrontational aspect of God is Christmas. You know, he came in meek and mild, and he came into the world in a way that, you know, he became one of us, you know, so that he could bridge that gap between us. And he did it in a way that, while it was amazing and awe-inspiring, it wasn't like, I don't know. Whenever God does anything, it's kind of there's a fearful element to it. But this was very non-confrontational.
Yeah,
as non-confrontational and as humble and as meek as the creator of the universe could possibly make himself.
Yeah,
And it was all so that people could approach the whole thing and not feel, oh, you know, I don't dare go. You know, the building will start on fire if I walk through the door, or, you know, God is so mad at me, and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, how people think and whatever their thought process is.
Yeah.
But this was just kind of like, it's very meek, mild, and humble. And,
yeah,
you know, it's not the bombastic explosion. Although when the angels show up, I imagine that was pretty crazy.
What do you think was going on in the spiritual realm?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it was. You know, I heard one theologian say that it was an invasion.
Yeah,
It was like D-Day, in the spiritual realm.
yeah,
You know, I think there was an element of what's going on. I don't think Satan knew what was happening.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty evident by the way that he would sometimes respond and react and do things. But at the same time, though, it was definitely a spiritual battle, and, you know, that those angels appearing. That's why, you know me, I've always had that issue with people presenting angels in a way that is just so, you know, that was the army of God.
Yeah.
You know, and they're pretty powerful, pretty amazing, and, you know, they show up and to the shepherds, and essentially what they did was they lifted the veil on the invasion and revealed the army to the shepherds.
What'd you think of my AI generated Christmas card with the? I did that in response to one of your messages about angels, and it was an angel with a flaming sword with a demon basically impaled on it. He's holding it in the air, and then in the other hand is a Christmas present with a bow on it that said "Merry Christmas" at the bottom.
I think it was great. I don't think many people would necessarily. They'd be like, "Huh," but me, I love it.
Hey. I think the staff here at our church would appreciate it.
I think they would. I think everybody liked it. So, but that's, you know, part of that is, you know, you don't think about it till somebody says it.
Yeah.
You know, and it does kind of go against that narrative.
Yeah.
That's out there.
What would you? So people they're going to come to church tonight. Some won't. And then, you know, a lot of us are going to go off to our families and spend Christmas Eve together and Christmas Day together. What would you encourage believers to think about as they spend time with family? And maybe some aren't able to spend time with family, but what would you encourage them to think about these next couple of days?
Yeah, maybe this kind of goes with the book we've been reading as a staff book on apologetics, but don't feel so easily threatened by opposing views. You're on solid ground. It may not feel like it, and it may feel like you're being insulted and But, you know, take the whole Christmas story. There's an element of the Christmas story where, you know, God doesn't need our permission, and he doesn't need our agreement either. And God is doing it the way he wants to do it. If you could rewind over 2,000 years and you write the script, you'd probably say, well, it's going to be like trumpets blaring, and you know, we're gonna have instead of shepherds who were the lowlifes of the culture, this being revealed to them and coming and worshiping, we're going to have the kings of the Middle East. They're all going to come and they're going to bow down before Jesus, and you know, but that's just not the way God did it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that as Christians, we have to have faith in the solid ground we're standing on, and not feel so offended when people push back. And I would also urge people that, you know, don't get caught into the trap of trying to defend a view that necessarily that people aren't interested in. You make them defend their view, which means you just ask them questions.
Right.
Well, what do you mean by that? So, you know, but not feeling so threatened. You know, I think that's important. And I just, so as Christians, we look at the Christmas story and we see God doing something and the way that he does it.
Yep.
And, you know, easily mocked, easily made fun of, you know, this is kind of ridiculous, you know, whatever the narrative is. And God's just kind of like, yeah, and so?
Yeah.
Some will get it, some won't.
Right.
Are you the one that gets it, or are you the one that doesn't? And just because you don't today doesn't mean you won't tomorrow.
Right.
But this is what it is.
Yeah. And I would even say, you know, like, so, and how are you doing at being a representative of Christ to others too? Are like you said, if you're easily offended and combative and you're getting angry over this conversation about your faith, like, how is that attractive to anybody?
Yeah.
You know, you can certainly hold fast to your views and your beliefs because you know it's true. But like you said, asking questions and probing questions and making them defend their faith, but then also displaying, you know what, you've got a joy that can't be shaken.
Yeah.
And you've got a fulfillment in Christ that nobody's going to take away. Like, they can't take that from you.
I saw this video of this guy that he was talking about. He had a flight on Christmas Eve, and he was flying, and he got to the airport early, and, you know, he was waiting on his flight, and he says, you know what it means when you get to the airport early, you have time for coffee. So he went to, there was a coffee shop in his terminal, and he goes there, and he says there was this barista that, he said we walked up to the counter, the person in front of him was having this in-depth conversation with this barista. And, you know, and then it ended, and then he got up there. And well, anyway, this barista was just like, what's your name? How are you doing? You know, and was just really friendly and all this stuff. And then said something to the effect of, you know, are you going to go see your family? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm going to go see my family. And then she goes, and she says, you just think about how you can go there and make all of their lives better, and you know, and make them that much happier that you were there. And she goes, and when you fly back, if I'm working, why don't you let me know how it went? And he's just like, wow. So he's walking off, and he's looking at this lady, and she does. Then somebody else comes up there. She does, you know, she starts this conversation, all this stuff, blah 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 blah. Anyway, so he says he goes back because he's just so struck by this barista, and he said that, you know, I just want to know, you know, why you're this way. You know, and he just says to her, and he says, you know, you serve coffee, and probably not everybody's appreciative of it, yet you do it in such a way that you impact people and all these things. And she just looks at him and says, I don't sell coffee. She goes, I dispense joy. And he's just like, you know.
Yeah.
And then he went on this thing about how, you know, so much of life is your perspective, right? You could say, well, you know, And it was Minneapolis. It was Minneapolis Airport, and the weather was horrible.
Yeah.
And he said, she could have very easily been mad because she had to go to work in that weather. Yeah. She had a million reasons. It was Christmas Eve. She's working at but she chose, rather than to have the perspective of the negative, she chose the perspective of the positive, and by doing so, she was impacting people.
Yeah.
Every person.
She would have been impacting either way.
Right. Right. Yeah,
negative
true.
or positive.
Negative or positive.
Right.
And everybody has that same capacity to choose their perspective.
What's been cool about us meeting with people for baptisms is we got to hear a couple stories yesterday of like tragedies in people's lives.
Yeah.
But yet they talked about coming out of those tragedies. They were like, we're blessed.
Yeah.
Whereas they had every right to take the perspective of my life is changed forever. I have the right to be miserable right now. And nobody would blame them.
No.
But yet their perspective was, praise God that I'm alive.
Yeah.
And here to talk about it. And I get to be with my family. And even to the point where other family members are questioning, how can you say you're blessed? Because I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a matter of perspective.
It is,
and absolutely, and that's the best part about it. And my prayer for people is that when they have that awakening and they have that wherewithal, that they're able to maintain it.
Yeah,
because life has a way of trying to drive that out of you.
Yeah,
and get you cynical or discouraged or whatever it is, and you've just got to fight for it.
Yeah,
it's a battle.
It is a battle, but there are things you can do to stay in that place. And I think one of them, stay in the Word, stay in Christian fellowship and community, stay in prayer, get plugged into Christian community, get here and worship on Sundays.
Yeah.
And, it's a battle. And, the narrative is you don't need to do that, or, you're too busy, or it's too cold, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But fight against the narrative.
You talk about a battle, and every morning I get up and I work out in the morning. But from the moment I get up until the moment I work out, I'm trying to talk myself out of it. And it's funny. So for me, I do my bike. I get on my bike and I ride my bike, and so the thing that I have, so there's steps to the battle, right? Before I get on the bike, I've got shoes that snap in. And so I'm sitting there and I'm battling this mental battle. So I do my devotions and I go through all that and I try not to think about it. And then it's like, okay, my devotions are over. Now it's time to get on the bike. And I start this mental battle. And then I say to myself, just get your shoes on. Right? Yeah. If you get your shoes on, then you might as well get on the bike. Mm-hmm. Right? And then I get on the bike, and then the every workout has a warm up. And I get on that bike, and I'm mid-50s now, and things it takes a little while for the engine to get warmed up in the morning. And so I start that warm up, and it feels like I don't know. It feels like somebody threw a piano on your back, and you're trying to bike up a mountaintop. Yeah. Right, or something, but then you're like, okay, I'm just going to make it through this warm up. You get through the warm up, you start loosen up, and then you make it through the whole workout. And then when you're done, you feel fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was a battle to get there. Just every time, and then even during the workout. So like if the workout is half hour or 45 minutes, you're sitting there going, oh, I've still got 30 minutes left in this workout, and all this stuff. And then you work. Now, some mornings are easier than others. Some mornings are harder than others, but there's always a degree of a battle.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for a lot of things that are good for us, there's a battle to do it oftentimes.
Yeah.
You have to like psych yourself up, and you have to remind yourself, well, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And,
it's probably not going to be easy.
Right. And it's a testimony to our fallen nature that the easy thing to do is usually the bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think I said this quote to Ryan not that long ago but I was listening to a podcast where a Navy SEAL said the best advice he ever got was from an admiral that told him when he was faced with a decision, choose the harder route, because usually the hard route is the way to go. The easy way
It's deceptive.
yeah. So choose the hard route.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you know, we've had conversations, and you know, and it's the thing is, it's not that I am this sadist that thinks everything should be hard.
mm-hmm.
But the worst justification you can give to me is that it would be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because my initial reaction is that I don't care. I really don't care, and
Right.
and because that's the ruin. But sometimes the right route is the easier one.
Right.
But that's not necessarily the goal. To me, it's more the result.
Yeah. Well, think about this: when you complete something that's hard, or you complete something that's easy, where's the level of satisfaction?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I totally.
You do something that's hard, and you get done, like you said with your bike, and you're just like, I conquered it. I did it.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, but made it through it. You know, you sit on your couch and don't do anything, meh. But then it gets easier and easier to make that decision over and over again. So
Yeah. So let's go back to the Christmas story. I was struck, and I'm not giving any precursor to anything, but I was really struck by the fact that that Mary was 9 months pregnant, and she literally walked up a mountain, 90 miles up a mountain.
yeah,
So the pictures of her riding on a donkey and all that stuff, or being on a cart, if you see any of that stuff, that's not practical. People walked
yeah,
back then. And, you know, when people were kind of traveling, they'd walk, it was kind of average. They'd walk 10 to 20 miles a day, like when they were caravanning, right? But not when they're 9 months pregnant. So they figure it probably took Mary, you know, if she averaged 10 miles a day, or maybe 15, it probably took her a week to walk from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And at some point, I'm sure they were like, this is ridiculous.
yeah,
What, you know, and they're only going there because they're forced to by the Roman government
right,
because of a census.
right,
And now Luke or any of the gospel authors, they don't mention any. I'm sure they had their moments, but the point is you wonder how satisfying it was after Jesus was born, and Mary and Joseph are just there, and it's like, you know, and all this stuff, and then when then suddenly the shepherds show up, or all these things start to happen, what that must have been like for them. But man, what they went through to get there.
Hey, maybe that was God's plan to get the baby Jesus moving out of there, because I can remember Trisha would get up and walk when we were in the hospital. What got things moving was she walked.
Well, maybe that was all according to plan, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's just kind of a crazy, you know, whenever you think that what you're doing is so hard, there's probably somebody out there that's done a lot harder.
Guaranteed.
Of course, you know, Mary was also young, so she at least had that in her favor.
Had that going for her. Yeah. And we have tennis shoes,
Yeah. I mean, just imagine.
not sandals.
And we're probably walking on paths or roads that are
Right.
level or smooth, and not walking on cobblestone roads, or walking up mountain, you know, paths, you know, carved out. I don't know, whatever it was that she was walking on. But it's just a lot of food for thought.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we made it a lot longer than the 10, 15 minutes we were going to
Yeah.
do. So, but you know, I want to reiterate again. We got 2 services tonight, 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock.
And we do have overflow.
We have overflow, so if it does get full over there, we will be streaming it over in the old building, but we'll have ushers and people there to kind of help you get where you need to go, and you know, we'll squeeze everybody together to make as much room as possible in the worship center. But you know, it's always, I used to dread Christmas Eve service as a kid. It was so boring, and we had to go. But man, I really enjoy coming to Christmas Eve service now.
Yeah.
And my kids do too.
Yeah.
Um,
That's probably, you talk about ritualistic and, where we started the conversation. When kids enjoy it,
yeah.
there's something good there.
Yeah.
Because kids they don't have all the experience to have nostalgia.
Right.
And a kid is very honest. And they'll tell you flat out,
Yeah.
that was boring, or that they'll tell you, what, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And they mean it.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's going to be good. We want to invite you to the Christmas Eve service tonight. We want to challenge you to invite someone to the Christmas Eve service with you tonight. And yeah, we hope to see you 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And then we hope if maybe you're a visitor tonight, we hope to see you on Sunday. Oh, we have soup supper tonight.
yeah, soup supper.
What time does that one start? 4 to 6. That's from 4 to 6. So
Yeah.
you can come during the first service and start eating, and you can stay after the first service and eat. No, thank you.
I don't know how
Pass
many.
on the chili.
I don't know how many people watch this before the services, but I would also encourage our healthy, regular attenders to consider parking far away.
Yeah. Park far away. Allow our guests to find a parking spot in the
Yeah, leave
parking
the
lot, 'cause
spots closer to the church for visitors or
Yeah.
the older folks that.
it will be full. So
Yeah, it'll be full. Yep.
anywho,
And that's like a little thing that you can do to bless somebody, and they don't even know you did it. So,
Yeah.
But yet you know you did it, and I think God knows you did it. So
yeah,
that's worth it.
get that extra reward in heaven for parking that far away from.
Yeah, so we have the community center
Yep.
parking, and we have the sidewalk now that you can cut across. So you don't have to go all the way around to the south side. So people can park in the community center. We got
diagonal parking over to the west now by the park, and
yeah,
so plenty of spaces to park.
and usually the last places to fill up are over where I park.
Yep.
Seems like, of course, a lot of staff and elders park there now, so they've kind of taken upon themselves to park far away from the building. So just encourage people to do that. If you're healthy, and you enjoy the cooler air, just park a little further away.
Hey, it's gonna be mid-40s today.
Yeah,
It's nice out.
piece of cake.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We really hope to see you tonight and the following Sunday. And from all of us here at Newton Church of the Way, we want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, for sure.